Hi, it's Mia and Charley reporting on Seabridge Radio, and our very special guest today is Samuel, and he's going to be telling us about an exciting project. Hello, Samuel. Are you having a good day today?
I'm having a really good day today, thank you. This is my second time in Stoke in 7 days, so I'm excited to be back, and thank you for having me.
So I guess we're going to have to get started with the interview then. So before we start, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Sam, I'm 31. I work in London for a software company called Too Simple, who are the people that have launched the Striker Boy campaign. Hobbies, I mostly like sports, so I know you guys have interviewed some sports people in the past. And some strongmen. So I'm not a strongman, but I play football, I do boxing, I play table tennis, I go climbing. Is that enough? Is that enough about me?
So when we've looked at your website, we saw you've created a book, and could you explain a little bit about the book itself?
Yeah, of course. So the book is called Striker Boy, and we should be clear, I can't take credit for writing Striker Boy. I'm a terrible author. The book was written by a brilliant author and wonderful man called Johnny Zucker, and the book was originally published in 2010. How old are you guys in 2010?
4.
Backward maths. 4. Okay, you're both 4. So you would have missed the original release. Fast forward, we'd worked with Johnny for many years on kind of separate projects. Sadly, last year in November 2016, Johnny took his own life. And as a result, afterwards, we wanted to do something to kind of honour his memory and get kids reading. So we decided that we would republish a special edition of Striker Boy, which was always his favourite book, and ours too, and his kids' book as well, his kids' favourite book. So we teamed up with Mind, which is a mental health charity, and also his family. So off air I showed you guys a picture of his family, who are awesome, so big shout out to them. And we decided to republish a special edition of the book. We had 2 aims, basically. We wanted to raise money and awareness for mental health. So money from the sale of the book goes to the charity, and they're then experts. They can go and help. You know, they're best placed to use that money to help people. And awareness, which just means having conversations, getting people talking. So we had a fantastic conversation already about mental health, and I think we're going to have another one. And secondly, just to get kids reading. Johnny dedicated his life, his dream, his love was kids enjoying books and reading books. So we thought by doing this, we'll be able to both raise money for a great charity and just get thousands of kids reading a fantastic book. That was a long answer to a short question, wasn't it? Sorry. I think our interview might be hours at this rate. I don't know, sorry.
So before creating the book of its own, what did Johnny Zucker do?
So Johnny Zucker, he did a lot of things. So he was like an amazing character. Mostly, if you met him, what you would notice instantly, he was just very funny. He would just make everybody laugh instantly. He used to come into the office, and the first thing he would do is just run around the office, and everyone would hold their hand up, and Johnny would just high-five everybody in the office as he came in. He was that kind of guy. First, when he left university, he became a teacher, a primary school teacher. So he would have been teaching kids just like you, but in London, and he did that for about 10 years, and he absolutely loved it. Just loved working with the kids. While he was doing that, he was also doing stand-up comedy. So he won an award for stand-up comedy. He was an FA qualified football coach, and he also loved music. Great musician. So he loved music. He really loved being a teacher, but he'd always kind of wanted to be an author. Do you know what I mean? So he could have thousands of kids around the country read his books. So he made the decision to kind of give it a proper shot. You know, leave teaching and become an author. And it went really well for him. He had over 120 books published. This is our favourite, but he had loads more, which are also amazing. So he's done loads of different things, and also he was obviously an amazing husband and a wonderful dad, which I think is just important.
So with your mental health association, can you explain more about the mental illness?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I think that it's really good that we're talking about it here on a kind of primary school radio station, because I think it's important for kids to kind of have an understanding of some of these adult issues. So mental illnesses are just like physical illnesses. So we all know that our friends get physical illnesses. There are 2 types mainly, aren't there? There's the kind of physical injuries, like I fell off my bike and I broke my arm. And then there's the often more serious kind of internal illnesses. So I think the one that most people sort of know is cancer. You know, horrible illness that sadly takes lots of people's lives each year. Mental illnesses are just the same as physical illnesses. They can be just as damaging. However, they are on the inside. They are in your mind. And what makes it quite difficult is that I've broken my arm, I go to the doctor, I get an x-ray, doctor knows exactly what's wrong, here's the cure. Even with some of your much more serious illnesses like cancer that we spoke about, there's a lot of understanding, a lot of treatments, you know. With mental illnesses, even now doctors don't 100% understand what causes them, and we're only in the really quite early stages of being able to help people. So I think to flip the interview around, your mum helps people with mental illnesses, doesn't she? Works for the NHS in a mental health trust. So there is help out there, but not a huge amount is understood, and I think they can be quite difficult to understand, mental illnesses, because they don't show themselves on the surface. A mental illness, as an example, is depression. Okay, and depression basically means very sad. I feel very sad all the time. Okay, the difficulty is that often people do feel sad in life. It's quite normal to feel sad sometimes. You know, your best friend moves to another school, you're going to feel sad for a bit. Okay, the difficulty becomes when that sadness is all the time, when that sadness is happening even though other things in your life might be going quite well. And we spoke about Robin Williams, the comedian. Seems to have everything. You know, he's got, like, amazing house in Hollywood, everyone thinks he's an amazing guy, all this money, yet he feels sad all the time, you know. Or this book's about football, and there are a couple of football cases recently. Clark Carlisle, did you see that one? He's a famous footballer and Mind ambassador. Or Aaron Lennon, did you see that one? Yeah, no, no. No worries. They're two footballers, okay, and you ask any man in the country, or any woman, what would you like to be, who has the best life? Footballers. Get all that money, get played football for 90 minutes a week, everyone thinks they're amazing, drive around a Ferrari, right? How could you not be happy like that? Yet these two footballers both have serious mental health problems, you know, and it shows us it's not about what's actually happening in your life, it's about what's happening inside your mind at this point. So it's very difficult, very complex, but it's important that we're aware of them, and it's important that we are supportive of people that have them. So the Mind motto is to give every person experiencing a mental health problem the support and respect they deserve. And those two things are equally important. The help from people like your mum, but also the respect from people like us. You know, about saying, I acknowledge that you have a proper medical problem, and I'm going to do what I can to make your life easier. Should we go to the next question?
So, what professional help can you get with your mental illnesses?
So, and apologies if I've rushed forward and covered some things already, I think, because it's really great to talk about it, and obviously I want to say loads and loads. I mean, importantly, we've already touched on two of the big places you can go, yeah? So the first is there is help from the government, from the NHS, from sort of social services. There's lots of official places you can go. And if adults do have a mental health issue, they can go to their GP, to their doctor, who will then refer them to a specialist. There are people like, do you know what a psychiatrist and a psychologist are? So there are adults whose job is to deal with problems in people's heads. So you might even just go and you'll talk to them. In some ways, they're like professional listeners almost. So you'll go and you'll talk to them, and they'll try and understand maybe why you feel the things you do. And they can also give you, just like with a cold or whatever, they can give you tablets and medication or whatever to try and make you feel better. So there's loads and loads of professional help, which is fantastic. But equally and just importantly, there's lots of amazing charities and organisations. So Mind is the National Mental Health Charity, and they do a bunch of different things. So one of the great things they do is they do actual, like, on-the-ground activities for people with mental health issues. Like in North London, you can go and just play football. You can go play football, but that's great because you get out of the house, you meet people, you get to talk to other people, you know, you have something to do, it's fantastic. But also they do a lot of kind of policy and campaigning work, and what that means is basically they will speak to the people that have these problems, find out what their needs are, etc. And then they will go and speak to politicians and to government and say, this is what these people need, this is what they want. You have to give this to them. I think you've had politicians and stuff on here before. So it's two kind of roles. One is actually helping the people that have the mental illnesses, and the other one is trying to speak for them in government and trying to get their needs heard as loudly as possible, you know?
So do you have any links with local charities that are in this area?
Full disclosure, I've only been to Stoke twice. So I came up last week to work with Stoke Football Club, and I'm here again to talk to you guys. But I only had 20 minutes before I got here, so I didn't have time to make any relationships with local charities. But I'm sure there are other fantastic local charities and local organisations in Stoke.
So I've heard you have quite a good link with football. Apart from Stoke, which you worked with last week, do you have any other links with football?
So here's what happened, right? I'll tell you what happened. So Johnny absolutely loved football. So when all this happened, I thought, you know what? We have to work with football somehow. We've just got to. It just makes sense. So I thought, what can we do, right? So I put this basically little letter together saying we'd really like it if you could support our campaign. Here's a few ideas about how you could maybe help us. And the response we've got has been just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. Currently we're working with about 25, I think we have about 25 to 30 different clubs who have given us their support. And to be honest, we're quite a small team. So working on the football clubs, there's me and a guy called Chris Christos, so shout out to him, because he's been working really well on this. So we haven't had time to contact all the clubs, but so far, and I won't say who they are, but so far only one club has said, we can't help you. And they were just too busy. You know, they had lots and lots of things going on. So we didn't think that was bad. We just understood they were too busy. Some of the connections have actually been done through friends or people that know people at the football clubs. So you mentioned we worked with Stoke. So last week we went to the Stoke-Leicester game, which was an amazing game. I don't know if you saw it, but it was an amazing game. And we went there and we were in the family stand and we had banners and books and we were just talking to thousands of kids and families, letting them know about the campaign. We gave some books out. It was brilliant. And that was all connected by a guy called James Williams, he works for Too Simple, but he lives in Stoke. And he has a season ticket, so he sits there week in, week out. And so when he found out what we were doing, he was like, look, I'll speak to Stoke for you, don't worry, you know, I've been going here for years. So he sorted that one. My own, do you know who I support? So do you know Charlton Athletic?
No.
That's fine. To be fair, yeah, okay. We're a team down in League One, but we should be in the Premiership, really. We deserve it. And we're going that way. And I have a season ticket there where I go with my dad. Been going there for years. And I wrote to Charlton, and what I said was, I have given you my support for 31 years. I would like you to give me your support now when I need it. And they did. They've been absolutely fantastic. They invited me in, and I've spoken to them, and we're going to do lots of stuff in April when we have a kind of mental health day there. So in terms of the things we're doing with football clubs, lots of different things. So at Stoke, we went there in the family stand, and we were there with banners and stuff. Swansea, do you know Swansea?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do know that. All right, fine, we do know Swansea. So there we're going to do emotional resilience days at the Liberty Stadium for local kids and schools. So that's going to be really, really exciting. Lots of people have just kind of written about it in the matchday programmes, the little books you get. They put it on their website, they tweet about it. Arsenal was Johnny's team. I'm guessing you do know the Arsenal. Yeah. So I wrote to them, just like I wrote to Charlton and said, you know, personal connection. I wrote to them and said, look, Johnny was a huge Arsenal fan. We're asking all 92 clubs to stand together on this, but we can't do that if we don't have Arsenal support, because I didn't think it would be right for us to work for these football clubs but not work with the one that Johnny supported. Do you know what I mean? It just didn't feel right. So I explained that to them, and they were absolutely fantastic. They came back to me straight away, a guy called Jack McNichol, who runs their education team. So so Jack came back to me, and he runs the double club. So I don't know if you guys know this, but most football clubs don't just play football. Did you know that?
Yeah.
You did know that? Is that because you've spoken to
Yeah.
Stoke and stuff? You know all about it. Perfect. So that will save us a good 30 seconds. So they do loads and loads of education, loads of teaching. They actually do a lot of mental health stuff. And Jack, who runs their education program there, or works on their education program there, invited me in. We had coffee together, and they bought copies of the book. So they purchased copies of the book from us, which they used in their holiday clubs. And I went to visit them the other day and got to meet some players and got some books signed and stuff. So that was really cool.
On your Striker Boy book, why did you decide to have a football theme?
Okay, so I'm probably not the best person to answer that, because I didn't technically write the book. Johnny wrote the book, so I'll have to probably just try and imagine what he was thinking when he decided to have the football book. Like I said, Johnny loved football. He kind of, a little bit jokingly, he'd always sort of dreamed he'd get the call up to England. Even when he was like 40, he was like, I'll probably still get it. I don't think he quite had the physical prowess or skill to ever play for England, but he had that kind of boyhood dream, you know. As a kid, he loved reading different books about football, and he was an FA qualified coach and a season ticket holder at Arsenal, so he had always wanted to write like a great football story. But also, and this is quite important, Johnny's life was about getting kids reading. And so what Johnny thought is, okay, well look, if I can hook them in, if I can get them to think it's going to be about something they really love, about something they're passionate about, they'll pick it up.
So we're both very eager to read what you've given us. How could the rest of the school maybe get one of the copies of the book?
So that's a brilliant question. So there are basically 3 ways that you can get the book, okay? So for parents thinking about Christmas or Hanukkah or festival season or whatever, you can go to strikerboy.com, all one word, which is the website you guys, I think, have already seen. And from there's a button that says buy now, and if you press that button, you'll be able to order one or many copies of the book. Schools, okay, because like you just mentioned, using it in class, which is perfect, and that's what we're trying to do. Schools can go to strikerboy.com also, and there is a special page for teachers where they can get multiple copies of the book with a little bit of a special school discount, and also they can download all the resources and stuff that we've made to go around the book for the classroom. And then lastly, you can also purchase the book on Amazon. Do you know Amazon, the website? So you can get it there, which is another great way to do it. And if you do get it there, we would really love it if you could give us positive reviews, because we're trying to get the book into their recommended list for Christmas. So those are the 3 ways you can get it.
So that's it from us for today. Thank you to all of our Seabridge listeners, and another huge thank you to Sam for sparing your time to come here on the Seabridge Radio. Bye for now.
Now back to more great hits from Seabridge Radio.